Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a close look at a source that examines the younger generation and, well, parenting today. It's quite a direct take.
Yeah, it is. We're focusing on one specific article called A Cry for Our Children, A Return to Godly Parenting. It's by Reverend Francis UNEGBU.
And our goal here is really to unpack this article, to get into Father UNEGBU's perspective, what he's critiquing, and the solutions he's proposing in the text.
Okay, so right away he mentions what sort of sparked this piece.
A trigger.
Exactly. A video he saw of SS3 students after their exams. The article describes their behavior as shameful and immoral displays. Pretty strong language.
And it sounds like the source doesn't see this as just, kids letting off steam. It calls it a warning sign of a decaying moral foundation.
And he even says, this isn't the generation our forefathers prayed for. That's a direct quote.
Wow. Okay, so what's the core critique being presented here?
Well, the article argues we're seeing a generation that seems to have lost its way. It uses phrases like vulgarity is called expression and shame is dismissed as old-fashioned.
So a fundamental shift in values, according to the source.
Yes. And it challenges parents directly.
Yeah.
Saying you can't just assume kids knows better or are okay just because, they have food and shelter.
The article also takes a specific stance on schools, doesn't it?
It does. It says quite clearly that school can never, ever do everything.
Right.
And that schools can never be successful if a family foundation and culture are not already there.
Yeah.
The focus is really put on parents, especially for kids age, say, 1 to 12.
Cultivating those principles early.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
Which leads to this idea of parental presence. The article observes that many parents are present in the home but absent in the lives of their children.
Present, but not really present.
Exactly. The source calls for parents to actually connect, talk to their kids, know who their friends are, what they're struggling with, and importantly, keep an eye on their online activities.
So if that's the critique, what's the proposed alternative in the article?
It advocates going back to the way of our grandparents, as the article puts it.
Okay, and how does the source describe it that way?
It paints it as built on specific pillars: discipline, respect, fear of God, and community accountability.
So a very structured traditional approach.
Yes. And it suggests these values weren't just lectured, but taught through everyday life. Things like dawn prayers, family meals, and this is direct from the source, using the rod of correction wrapped in deep love and concern.
Right, and the article actually quotes that specific proverb, spare the rod and spoil the child.
It does, explicitly, and presents it as not just advice, but a divine imperative as well as principle. That's the source's framing.
And it follows that with a warning.
A stark one. That a generation not corrected will surely correct itself, either in the street, behind bars, or on a viral video. Again, that's the perspective laid out in the article itself.
So the overall message seems quite urgent.
Very much so. It's a call for parents to wake up, to recognize they're not just raising kids, but shaping a future husband, a future wife, a future leader.
And the source acknowledges this isn't easy. It calls it painstaking.
Not an easy job. And contrast this with how, according to the article, many modern-day parents think.
So it's pushing back against maybe a more relaxed modern approach.
It seems to be.
Yeah.
It's a call to actively return to God, prayer, values, character molding. Because the source warns the enemy is not sleeping.
And it brings it right back to the person reading it, to you listening, saying that initial video shouldn't just make us tut or shake our heads.
But should shake us back to responsibility. That's the challenge the article puts forward.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, Father UNEGBU's article presents a very clear viewpoint. It's rooted in traditional values, religious faith, and deep concern about the moral direction he sees. The onus is placed squarely on parents.
It really is. And it leaves you with something to think about, doesn't it? The article presents spare the rod and spoil the child as both divine imperative and principle. So what does the source imply about how it sees the link between faith, parental authority, and, well, the methods deemed effective for raising children? It's definitely a core question raised by the piece.